Blessings to my beautiful soul tribe all around the world, and welcome to the 2022 forecast, your galactic soul guide for navigating all of the powerful transits and portals that we have coming up in this beautiful, powerful year of 2022. So this is part one of the astrological part of our forecast. We are dividing up this year into 4 parts. And the first part is going to be covering the remaining part of January, going through March. And I did want to just bring to your attention some of the themes that we are working with this year, but before I dive into the astrology. So just kind of a little bit of a quick reminder for you. And I am streaming this broadcast from the Dominican Republic. So that's the tropical background that you see here. And this part of the Dominican Republic is essentially in the portal of what was ancient Atlantis. So energetically, it's very much of an activation portal of our ancient selves. And so if you feel the call to come here, let me know. It's a very, very sacred and very powerful portal. Very related to what we call the star seed activation experience. This is what I consider to be a Sirian stargate, so from the Sirius star nation. So the themes that I want to just ground us into as we step into the astrological aspects for the first quarter of this year, as we start to really prepare for the astrological new year, which takes place on the spring equinox. I misspoke in the overview that I did first, which I said the spring solstice, which it's not the solstice, it's the equinox. So the spring equinox, the new moon in Aries, is really the beginning of our new year, right? So we're really using this time, January, February, part of March, to really prepare ourselves to step powerfully into the actual cosmological, energetic new year. The new year that we're working with in the Gregorian calendar is not synced up energetically with like the rhythms of the universe, right? So we can use it for planning purposes and things like that, but energetically on the level of like our soul growth and our soul expansion, and those of us who really feel energies, that's really, the new year is really in the springtime for the Western Hemisphere. So the themes we're working with are, one, learning to expand our ability to integrate and hold all polarities in the space of unconditional love and compassion, right? So even those forces in the world that are seeking to undermine our sovereignty, who are seeking to gain higher and higher levels of power and control, when we really are able to ground into the expansiveness of the heart, the sacred heart, which is the 7th direction in the medicine wheel, what we find is that we actually have the ability to hold all things in the space of unconditional love. That doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything, right? That doesn't mean that we have to support everything. But it means that we don't have to allow someone else's actions that are coming from a fear-based energy to trigger us to come out of the space of unconditional love, right? We can hold compassion for all beings regardless of what it is that they're up to. The second thing that we're really practicing in the 2022 portal is learning to hold our own center as we alchemize all that is coming up to be transmuted back to source. So again, this is part of staying committed to staying in your own center, right? Regardless of what comes up in your external environment, always coming back to remembering that you always have the choice to choose love over fear. Number 3, seeing your old narratives in such a crystal clear way that they begin to truly fall away, right? So as you really deepen your progress on your healing journey, which is what we're really going to be talking about on an astrological level with these transits that we have in the first quarter of the new year of 2022, is that you will have the opportunity to experience deep shifts in the way you experience reality. So there are amazing dividends that come from doing shadow work, inner child healing work, being present for all parts of yourself. Huge, expansive shifts in your experience will be taking place for you. And the last thing that I want to share with you is that we're really being invited to be in a place where we hold the vision of our highest multidimensional selves and spirit medicine coming online, right? To believe in miracles when it comes to your ability to step into yourself, right? And a huge part of this comes from your ability, which comes from practicing, seeing the world through the lens of energy, right? Seeing everything from the perspective of energy and from the perspective of sovereignty, right? So always coming back to the sovereignty of your soul. Why did I'm experiencing this. Why did I choose to experience this? And that is where we really find our power, okay? So a quick reminder that on February 1st, which is the new moon in Aquarius, we will be holding a free mastermind workshop that is all about really taking advantage of these portals and how you can connect with these transits, these astrological transits, which I refer to as portals, how you can connect with them, harness them from the perspective of really stepping into your spiritual purpose and expanding your soul's experience in this lifetime. And so that again is on February 1st, okay, from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is a free offering. And anyone who signs up for and attends that offering will also have their name put in a drawing to receive a free Soul Purpose Astrology Session, which is a value of $250, okay? That is kind of the signature product offering that I have. I also have a signature 16-week program that I offer. But in terms of kind of an introductory offering that is also a deep dive into the work that I do and into the map of your soul, that is the Soul Purpose Astrology Session that I will be gifting to one person who signs up for the mastermind workshop on the new moon in Aquarius. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick review of January, because one of the things we really want to do is weave these full and new moon portals and the medicine of these transits, to weave them into the work that we're doing this year, right? So we don't get a lot out of a transit or a full moon or a new moon if we just connect with it for one day, right? But the themes and the energies and the healing work that it's asking us to do is what's important for us to be present for throughout this year, okay? So the first thing that really kicked off our year was this new moon in Capricorn, right? And that took place right as we were really stepping into this Venus retrograde in Capricorn portal, right after Venus conjuncted Pluto. So there's a lot of themes here that are really profound that I have talked about in other videos, but essentially with this new moon in Capricorn, it is really an invitation to step into a new relationship to how you interact with authority, right? What authority do you answer to? And hopefully the authority that you answer to is your own inner authority, right? So Venus in Capricorn, new moon in Capricorn. Capricorn in this aspect very much represents the old way that we are stepping out of, the old imprints that had us in a state of disempowerment, right? Where we did not enter and understand the power and the sovereignty of our own souls, right? We did not have a strong connection to our goddess selves, right? So that old sort of patriarchal imprint in programming is very much represented by Capricorn. And during this entire year of 2022, we have Pluto still moving through Capricorn, okay? Pluto takes 20 years to move through one sign. And in the case of Capricorn, it's helping us with very deep levels of deconstruction of the old way, right? Of the old patriarchy. And the patriarchy, very briefly, is not about beating up on men. The patriarchy is referring to the power structure that is currently crumbling, that is seeking desperately to hold on to control, that sought only to gain control and power for its own purposes. It was not here to be of service to the people, both men and women. Okay, but we refer to it as the patriarchy because it came out of a male power structure, a male-dominated power structure. So that is the new moon in Capricorn, is really asking you to be present with this question throughout this entire year, right? The second day of the new Gregorian calendar, right? New moon in Capricorn is asking you, what authority do you answer to? Who is your authority? Okay. So then we have the full moon in Cancer that happened on January 17th. And the theme that we want to really bring into the year that relates to that full moon in Cancer has to do with reclaiming emotional safety and sovereignty, right? And really being present to the wound of the inner child, which is the wound of the soul that the soul came to heal. And the soul recreated that wound in the inner child experience in order to bring it to the surface, in order to heal it in this lifetime. Okay, so this full moon in Cancer energy, this full moon in Cancer was very much aspected by Pluto, bringing up a lot of deep wounds and deep traumas, a lot of wounds being triggered by feeling misunderstood, feeling unseen, feeling unworthy. Things of that nature came to the surface, okay? So we're going to continue to work with those themes as we move throughout this year. And again, this whole concept of reclaiming emotional sovereignty and emotional safety is the invitation to be able to respond from a place of intention as opposed to the emotional body being triggered and taking over, right? And us essentially being held hostage to the wounds that are held in the emotional pain body, okay? And if you want to understand more about the pain body, I highly recommend that you research it. It's a very useful framework for the healing journey, okay? So in general, we are using the paradigm of one of the medicine wheels of an ancient indigenous culture to guide us throughout this year. And the culture, the lineage that I want to acknowledge here is the lineage of the Quiro shamans that live in the high mountains of the Andes of Peru. And this very unique culture escaped the Spanish Inquisition by escaping high into the frigid high mountains of the Andes, living under very difficult circumstances, major sacrifices made to protect this lineage. And so it's an ancient lineage, and we're going to be, connecting with this lineage as we journey throughout this year. And we're going to be really looking at the medicinal kind of energetic archetypes of each direction, right? So in the direction of the south, we have the serpent. In the west, we have the jaguar. In the north, we have the hummingbird. And in the east, we have the eagle. In the fifth direction, we honor Mama Gaia, Mother Earth. In the sixth direction, we honor Grandfather Sky, who holds Grandmother Moon and Father Sun. And then in the seventh direction is the Sacred Heart, which is where the archetype of Quetzalcoatl lives, the feathered serpent, who I often refer to as the rainbow dragon. But that's another story we'll get into another time. So January, February, March, what we're really working with, they always answer. You can see the wind whipping up. So during January, February, March, we're really grounding into serpent medicine. Okay, what is serpent medicine all about? It's really about shedding your old skin, being really clear about what roles, narratives, identities, expectations have been placed on you by the other, by programs that did not come from inside yourself, that don't serve you, right? And being willing to lay them down. And a big part of serpent medicine is being willing to sit in the void, right? Being willing to sit in the space where you don't know. To be willing to sit in a space of unknowing requires great courage. And I've been so impressed by a number of people that I've seen this year during the cosmic reset, as I call it, be able to just take time to be still. It requires such deep courage to sit in the unknown. Okay, and serpent medicine is going to ask you, as you let go of the old, you're not going to know what comes next, right? And that's part of the beauty of this time. So we are in the final kind of chapters right now of Venus retrograde. Mercury is in retrograde, and so we're doing a lot of reviewing of what matters to us, right? What do we want? What do we value? What do we want in our life? Who do we want in our life? And really claiming that and being willing to admit to yourself, what is it that your sovereign self wants, okay? Because your values are very important. That's what Venus has to do with, okay? And we're in Venus retrograde. So whenever a planet goes retrograde, the energy of that planet is very accentuated, right? So there's a strong theme around your values right now, okay? Now, the other aspect of retrograde season has to do with, in my personal opinion, putting things right, right? Going back to review, making things right, setting things right, right relationship, coming into right relationship. So there's a huge theme in this first part of the year around repair, right? What is it that you need to repair? Where do you need to slay your ego in order to be humble and to come forward and apologize, take accountability, make things right? Because when you make things right, you are clearing huge amounts of karmic baggage that are taking up all types of space in your field that are preventing you from being really present to what you actually need to be present for, okay? So that's a little bit of an introduction to the serpent medicine we're going to be working with. And we're now going to start to go through the transits that are going on the rest of January and for February. Okay, so we have Mars entering Capricorn on January 22nd. That is going to be a huge, what I call portal shift, in the sense that Mars has been in Sagittarius, and Mars is going to be going into Capricorn. Mars in Sagittarius is a fire sign. Mars entering Capricorn is going to put the life force energy of the planet astrologically into not only an earth sign, but a cardinal earth sign, right? So Capricorn wants structure, it wants accountability, it wants discipline, it wants responsibility. You know, it wants things running right, okay? That's what Capricorn is all about. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the planet that really rules the rules of the earth plane. On a more universal level, we're looking at the grandfather. In the West African tradition of the Yoruba lineage, we're talking about Obatala, right? We're talking about the loving grandfather who also insists on things being done right and things being put into order, which is what I refer to as sacred order, okay? So that is Mars entering Capricorn. We are in Capricorn season right now. The sun has officially entered Aquarius, but we still have a lot of planets that are either in Capricorn or who will soon be entering Capricorn, okay, including Venus and Mars. Venus is in Capricorn, will remain in Capricorn through March, when she will come up to conjunct Pluto again. And then she will also be conjuncting. When we say conjunct, it means come together. She will also be conjuncting Mars on February 21st. Okay, so that's a really beautiful portal that we're going to have there of the masculine and the feminine coming together. And then in terms of finishing up with January, Venus is going to go direct on January 29th. Now, whenever a planet goes in retrograde or goes direct, again, going direct means that it starts to move forward, and before it moves forward, it will station, meaning it will change directions. Okay, so that is a huge kind of energetic transmutation that's going to be happening. So a lot will come to the surface those last few days of January as Venus prepares to station and then move forward. Okay, so just to be aware that, you know, whenever a planet is moving, you know, changing directions, changing signs, there's a specific teaching that planet is really trying to bring to us, right? Which is why I really think of the planets as ancestors, okay? This ancestor of Venus, right? She really wants to make sure that you have received the medicine of her retrograde, right? That condensed medicine that she was giving you, she's sitting there looking at you like, did you complete the transit, right? Did you do the work that we came to do? Are you really clear about what you value? Are you really clear about what you want, about who you want in your life and who you don't want in your life? Are you really clear about what this next chapter is going to look like for you, again, from that perspective of the divine director, right? As opposed to just allowing things to happen to you. All right, so we're going to move now into February. In February, we're going to have a very different energy in the sense that all of the planets are going to be direct, okay? That's not something that we want to take for granted, because the truth is that for a lot of 2022, we're going to have a lot of planets in retrograde, okay? If you remember last year, from May until October, we had a very strong retrograde season, meaning that almost all of the outer planets were retrograding, and it became a very condensed healing portal, okay? The planets are going to start to go retrograde at the end of April. So we have this beautiful little window, right, where things can kind of move forward, where things can kind of jump forward, where the energy is going to be moving into Aquarius. Uranus is now direct. Venus is about to go direct. Mercury will go direct. And then we'll have this kind of little bit of a lighter energy moving us towards the spring equinox before everything starts to go retrograde again. So I want to just make you aware of that is a very distinct energetic portal that we're going to have in February and March that we will not have for the rest of the year. Okay, it's very, very unusual. So as we move into February, we're really being asked to connect with our inner vision. Okay, what is the vision that comes from your sacred heart that is not being affected or dulled or distorted by outside programs, right? So all the work that you do in January to get really clear about what you want and what you value, allow that work to then come into this new moon in Aquarius on February 1st. I hope you'll join our workshop, our free mastermind workshop on February 1st. Allow that to organically bring forward what is the true inner vision of your sacred heart, right? Of your divine essence, and start to get really clear, right? Start to put into motion some forward energies around moving towards this vision. Okay, that's what Aquarius season is really about. Okay, and then on February 16th, we have the full moon in Leo, which is so beautiful, right? So full moon in Leo will be opposing the sun in Aquarius. Aquarius and Leo are cosmic partners and twins on the astrological chart. They're across from each other, right? The Leo energy is really about allowing yourself to shine in your glory, right? Allowing your light to be seen in this world, right? So if you have been maybe shy or hesitant to share your medicine, your gifts, this full moon in Leo is really asking you, we need your light. We need you to shine your light in this world to support the work of others, okay? Now, some specific other transits that we want to talk about is that on February 4th, Mercury will go direct. Now, something to keep in mind, a lot of us in our tribe, we have Mercury in retrograde, okay? Mercury in retrograde means that if you have Mercury in retrograde natally in your natal birth chart, that means that when you were born, Mercury was in retrograde. I have Mercury in retrograde. So what that means is that when Mercury is retrograding in the sky, like right now, this is my go time. This is when the universe is essentially, marching to the beat of my drummer, right? Because I am a Mercury retrograde child, okay? So I do not experience Mercury retrograde when the rest of the world does, right? The non-Mercury retrograders, when they experience Mercury retrograde, I don't experience Mercury retrograde. I experience Mercury retrograde during the shadow period. So before Mercury officially goes into retrograde and after, okay? And so the shadow period after Mercury goes direct will take place for a couple of weeks after that period. So just be aware that there will still be themes of needing to review, be very clear, be aware of the potential of misunderstandings, right? And that's a big part of this Mercury retrograde period, is that a lot of our pain, our wounds can be projected onto the other through the portal of misunderstandings, right? Because Mercury rules communication. So a lot can be lost in translation when Mercury's in retrograde. So it's really good to be very, very clear when someone says something, repeat back what you think you heard them say, because oftentimes it may not be what they actually said, okay? Now, on February 18th, the sun will enter Pisces. So it's inching us, it's inching us closer towards that spring equinox, because after Pisces comes Aries, right? After Aquarius comes Pisces. So we're gonna be having some planets in Capricorn, some planets in Aquarius, some planets in Pisces, throughout February, okay? So that is kind of our highlight for the month of February. Really, the invitation for you for February is to allow something in your life that's really important to you to really jump forward, right? To allow this Aquarius energy, which is fast moving, which is air, which is the mind, which is the vision of the future, to really, to really work with your field. And, it is very much of a heightened portal of awakening, right? You could really have a strong awakening around something in your life, and you could really experience a part of your life from a very different perspective, which is really powerful and beautiful. Like I said, the other really powerful part of February is that Venus will conjunct Mars in Capricorn. So there's this Venus being the feminine, Mars being the masculine. There's this really beautiful opportunity, a cosmic opportunity, to have healing conversations and harmonize the masculine and feminine energies within and without, right? Mercury will also be conjunct Pluto right around that time. So again, Mercury being the mind, communication, Pluto being, your power, trauma, things that have been hidden and not revealed. So some really important conversations, healing conversations, can bring important things to the surface to be resolved. Also, that energy needs to be handled with great care and responsibility, because those are strong energies, especially Venus conjunct Pluto. Okay, so we're now going to just take a quick review through March, and then we're going to end. And on April 4th, I will be posting the next broadcast for the second quarter of 2022. And we're going to be working with Jaguar medicine for the second quarter. So April, May, June, we're going to be working with Jaguar medicine. If you are interested in learning more about this paradigm, I do have videos that you can find on my YouTube channel to introduce you to the shamanic lineage of the Kira shamans. And there are also lots of videos and information worldwide that you can find about their important lineage that they have brought to the West, that they want to share with the world. So again, March, we're still going to have some planets in Aquarius as we enter March. And then we are going to be moving closer and closer towards the spring equinox, the sort of official beginning of the new year. And we're going to be moving towards going from the fixed quality of air to then the mutable quality of water, which is Pisces, which is actually ether, into cardinal fire. So that is going to be a major, huge transition that we're going to go to as we start to enter that cardinal fire, okay? So in March, we have the spring equinox on March 21st. The sun enters Aries, cardinal fire, on March 23rd. March 27th, Mercury goes into Aries. And then on April 1st, we have the new moon in Aries, right? So we're going to be really getting into that. And then before we know it, Jupiter will enter Aries on May 10th. So that is very powerful cardinal fire energy that is very much about initiating, right? And I really feel that this year in 2022, what's going to happen is that cardinal fire, the cardinal fire of Aries, is going to initiate us as we move into retrograde season, okay? And this year for retrograde season, I want our tribe to be prepared for retrograde season. I want us to be really clear about what are we taking into the underworld this year to heal, right? When we come out on the other side of retrograde season, what is the Phoenix rising experience that we're going to have, right? What are we bringing up to the light? What are we going to transmute from the shadow, okay? So that's really important, that we are very conscious and intentional of the shadow work, of the healing work that we're being asked to do, that our soul is asking us to do, and that these planetary ancestors are here to support us in, okay? Because retrograde season is going to be strong this year. I feel it, and I hope that we learned a lot from retrograde season last year. We may even be doing some reviews in our mastermind sessions to really look at what did we learn last year during retrograde season, okay? And again, you know, the difference between this time last year and this year is that last year, Jupiter was going back and forth between Aquarius and Pisces. Pisces, Aquarius, right? This year, Jupiter is going to be going back and forth between Pisces and Aries, okay? When Jupiter goes into Aries, that is going to be an explosion of Aries energy, okay? So I want to take a moment to talk about Aries energy, because we're going to be initiated into it in March, and then it's going to expand in April and May, all right? When even more of the planets go into there, especially with Jupiter, okay? Now, the planet Mars rules the first house of astrology, and it rules the sign of Aries, okay? The first house is very much the unconscious self, okay? It's the part of the self that we have a hard time being aware of. It tends to be sometimes a selfish or self-centered energy because of the lack of awareness that can come there. And it also has a tendency to have an impulsive quality to it, right? It's very masculine, it's very fiery, it wants to move fast, and it wants what it wants, okay? Now, this energy in an ungrounded form can create trauma. Coming out of the thousands of years of the patriarchy, where the masculine energy was in a place where it was misusing its power, oftentimes from a fear-based, unconscious place. Part of what we are going to be asked to be present for, right, is the wound of the masculine, okay? And I want to take a minute to dive into that so that we can be really clear about the work that we're going to be called to do. And I will be making videos throughout this first quarter of Serpent energy, January, February, March, to delve further into these. So I hope that you will stay tuned. Every Sunday we do a forecast. We'll be looking at the energies really in depth every week as the planets are shifting signs, as new portals are emerging and opening. So this is not the only explanation that I'm going to give you, but I want to give you a brief overview, and then we'll close this this video hopefully right at 33 minutes, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about Aries energy, and also the fact that Chiron, the wounded healer, is in the sign of Aries. That's a 7-year transit, okay? So in general, we are going to be asked to be present to the ways that we have been wounded, and we're going to be asked to do the work of transmuting the triggers from the pain into the power, right? And the way that we do that is by being really present to the pain. That's where the transmutation process happens, allowing the heart to transmute the pain and to dissolve the pain, okay? Now, a lot of what has happened during the last few thousand years, including into the present time, is that as healers, right? And this has happened with some beings who are in masculine form, and especially as women, right? We often take on the pain of the other because of the empathic part of ourself that wants to heal. Now, unfortunately, what often happens is that the pain of the other then becomes our pain, right? We take on that pain. And a lot of us as women, we have absorbed the pain of the wounded masculine, whether that was because we experienced sexual abuse as a child by a masculine figure who was in deep pain, right? Which is not an excuse for that behavior, but it is an explanation. Whether that's because we grew up in an abusive family, whether that's because we have been in abusive relationships that we have chosen from an unconscious place. But part of the journey of the healer, right? Part of the journey of what they in Greek astrology they call Chiron, the wounded healer, right? Is learning to transmute that pain and to step into a place of sovereignty, right? To master that pain and to step into being the healer, okay? And so part of what we have to learn as healers is that it is not our job to take on the pain of the other, right? It is our job to hold the space of unconditional love and to create spaces and portals where that pain can be transmuted, right? And that's a lot of the work that I've been called to do, specifically working with plant medicine to support people in shedding those wounds and transmuting that pain, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and close this video, part 1 of the Astro forecast for 2022, your Galactic Soul Guide. And I do have resources on my website that I encourage you to visit and take advantage of, thetempleofthegoddess.org. And I will continue to update that. And don't forget to sign up for the New Moon in Aquarius Mastermind Workshop on planning your soul's expansion and the embodiment of your spiritual purpose in 2022. If you listen to this video after that date, a recording of that video will be available for you, so just look for it on my website. Sending you all so many blessings. Ashe, aho.